Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the second half of our conference this morning. And good morning if you've just joined us or you didn't join us at the beginning. Just to remind you, today's event is a bilingual event. So it's available with our translators, Sylvie and Michael, who are providing the channels of French and English as well. So if you haven't yet, make sure you click on the interpretation and translation button on your toolbar, and then you can select your preferred language, and then you'll be able to hear it in that preferred language as well. So this is how the agenda is set out. We've got another session before we have a lunch break. As I said before the break, we are running slightly behind schedule, so it's likely we will shorten our lunch breaks somewhat to catch up with time, because we are aiming to finish at around about 3:30, 4:30 French time, 3:30 the English time. So let's move on to our next chapter, our next theme of the day here at the closing conference of the experience programme, and that's all about sustainable tourism. Well, we know sustainable tourism is a concept that covers the complete tourism experience. That's the concerns for the economic, social, environmental issues, as well as turning our attention to improving visitors' experiences and addressing the needs of host communities. So to put that more clearly, it's all about, as we know, protecting natural environment, wildlife, natural resources, as well as protecting and providing as well as providing authentic visitor experiences that celebrate and conserve our heritage and cultural assets. And of course, creating social economic benefits for communities through the employment and income earning opportunities. Well, I've been lucky enough to work with many of the partners here in England and their local businesses with enhancing their approach to sustainable tourism. And our approach has been to ensure that activities are driven by demand, so that off-season is a growth in for visitors who are looking for those experiences. So increasing those benefits, which we see to reduce the negative impacts, driving down carbon emissions, for example. Now, to look more closely at how experience has been at the very heart of to look at how sustainability has been at the very heart of experience, we'll be hearing from Laura in Amole about some very unique and stunning accommodation. So think Fort Bayard, but without those challenges. There's a new approach to sustainable tourism there, hoping to boost the season there, and that's all taking off soon. So we'll be hearing about that later. We'll head back to Norfolk to join Lindsay, who will share news about two projects around sustainability, but also cultural tourism infrastructure projects, Hunstanton Observatory and the Norfolk Way Arch Trail. And we'll head west to where I am actually today, here to Cornwall, to check in with Celine and Rosa from Cornwall Council, where their team have been working on a hyper-geographic area targeting demographics of visitors who those visitors repeat and come to Cornwall often, and encouraging a change in their current behaviours of the visitors as well. That's what's coming up in this part of the session today. But first, let's join Marjorie Levasseur, who is the Office of National Forests, where Experience has supported a project there to welcome visitors, encouraging more pedestrian use of soft modes of transport, keeping with the spirit and the place, that natural space. Bonjour bonjour Marjorie.
Bonjour Chris, bonjour à tous. Je suis ravie d'être là aujourd'hui au sein d'un projet de développement touristique. L'Office national des forêts est un acteur et un partenaire un petit peu atypique. Donc voilà, du coup, je suis vraiment ravie d'être là aujourd'hui avec vous pour évoquer les infrastructures qui ont été réalisées et l'approche durable de celles. celle-ci, comme l'a rappelé Chris dans son introduction. Peut-être simplement pour commencer, je vais vous redonner quelques éléments de contexte sur le rôle de l'ONF. Donc l'Office national des forêts est l'acteur unique pour la gestion des forêts publiques en France métropolitaine et dans les outre-mer. Et plus spécifiquement pour ce projet-là, c'est l'agence de Picardie qui s'est engagée aux côtés de l'agglomération de la région de Compiègne, et puis plus particulièrement encore la forêt domaniale de Compiègne. Donc notre mission à l'ONF, c'est de mettre en œuvre une gestion durable et multifonctionnelle des forêts publiques françaises. Donc, on agit à la fois pour la préservation, la valorisation et le renouvellement des forêts afin de produire et d'alimenter la filière bois, tout en protégeant la biodiversité et en permettant l'accueil du public. Voilà, donc au sein de ces 3 missions, c'est parfois pas toujours facile de concilier tout cela, mais on s'y efforce, notamment dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre de ce type de projet. Alors Chris, tu peux passer à la slide suivante. Merci. Et donc du coup, au sein de notre politique d'accueil, on va à la fois chercher à favoriser le piéton, puis les modes de déplacement doux, donc principalement le vélo, mais aussi l'équestre notamment. Et évidemment, si on est amené à réaliser des aménagements dans le cadre de projets de territoire, on va avant tout chercher à respecter l'esprit des lieux, puisque évidemment, le public vient avant tout chercher un espace naturel pour se ressourcer. Voilà, donc le projet expérience, il nous a permis de réaliser un itinéraire cyclable, constitué pour partie par la création d'une piste cyclable. Et du coup, je vous propose de regarder en vidéo la réalisation.
Grâce au financement de l'Europe pour le projet Expérience à l'ONF, nous avons pu terminer les travaux de restauration du berceau de l'impératrice, aménager le site des étangs Saint-Pierre pour tous les publics et créer une piste cyclable pour accéder au site.
Expérience est un projet de coopération entre 6 régions pilotes en France et en Angleterre qui a pour objectif de développer le tourisme hors saison.
Le site des étangs Saint-Pierre est inclus en forêt de Compiègne dans un site classé Natura 2000 au titre de la directive européenne de protection des oiseaux. Donc c'est pour cela qu'on a fait, avant la réalisation des travaux, une étude d'incidence. L'étude a consisté à étudier les aménagements et les travaux qui allaient être faits, à évaluer l'impact qu'ils pouvaient avoir sur les populations d'oiseaux patrimoniales qui se rapportent à la directive européenne et à aménager essentiellement les périodes de travaux pour que ça ait un impact minimal, voire nul, sur l'espèce d'oiseau.
Cette nouvelle piste cyclable, c'est forcément une nouvelle infrastructure qui peut avoir des impacts sur la gestion de la forêt et sur la compatibilité avec les autres usages. Donc on a bien travaillé ces points-là en amont pour que ce nouvel équipement, il respecte à la fois les enjeux environnementaux et il respecte nos besoins en termes de gestion forestière. C'est une forêt qui est exploitée, donc il faut que les différentes fonctions de la forêt restent compatibles entre elles. Il était important que les projets réalisés en forêt de Compiègne avec les collectivités respectent nos valeurs, le besoin en fait de promouvoir un tourisme qui soit compatible avec la gestion de la forêt, sa préservation. Et donc on est bien sur des modes de découverte qui sont liés à la découverte à pied, à cheval, à vélo, Voilà, donc ça correspond vraiment à ce que l'on attend aussi.
Voilà, merci, merci Chris. Et donc du coup, en conclusion, voilà, on peut préciser que forcément autour d'expériences, il y a une belle dynamique, qui s'est mise en œuvre avec les partenaires, donc avec l'agglomération de la région de Compiègne, mais aussi avec les partenaires, des autres collectivités, autour de la forêt de Compiègne. Et du coup, grâce à cette dynamique, on a d'autres projets qui sont, en cours, de réflexion et qu'on espère évidemment, voir, se concrétiser, dans les années, à venir. Donc, sur, l'équestre, il y a des réflexions autour de la mise en place, de la route européenne, d'Artagnan et puis, toujours, sur le vélo, l'objectif serait de pouvoir eh bien, continuer, enfin poursuivre cet itinéraire, cyclable, de manière à permettre de, relier, le site, des étangs Saint-Pierre, puis le village de Pierrefonds, pour aller ensuite, jusque Villers-Cotterêts, donc dans un autre, département, mais quelques dizaines de kilomètres, plus loin. Voilà et de manière à pouvoir, créer, tout un itinéraire, cyclable, entre Villers-Cotterêts et son château et puis, le centre-ville de Compiègne, et son château en passant par la forêt. Voilà.
Marjorie, Missy, thank you very much indeed for that. It looked brilliant and another place to add to my list. It's grown all the time. If you want more information about any of the projects featured in today's conference, then you can go to the Experience website at www.tourismexperience.org. That's tourismexperience.org, and I'm sure there'll be a link provided shortly in the chat as well, also available, or also, I should say, in the Q&A button. That's where you'll find it, that link. All right, let's move into our next destination. It's back to the Bay of Morlaix. We're going to be joined Laura Payet, who is from the community there, and to talk to you about the next project. Bonjour, Laura.
Bonjour Chris, bonjour à toutes et tous. Je me présente, donc je suis Laura Payet, chef de projet Interreg Expérience pour Morlaix Communauté. Et donc aujourd'hui, je vais vous présenter l'un de nos 3 projets d'investissement, puisque c'est sur cela que nous sommes majoritairement impliqués sur ce projet. Et donc, je vais présenter aujourd'hui le projet le plus ambitieux de ces 3 projets, à savoir la rénovation du phare de l'île Noire que vous pouvez voir actuellement en image. Donc, j'ai appelé cette présentation « Des contraintes aux opportunités ». Vous allez le comprendre assez rapidement, je pense. Donc, on peut passer à la slide suivante. Donc, notre approche dans ce projet a été donc, enfin, l'objectif de ce projet était donc de créer un gîte, de rénover le phare pour, à terme, accueillir un gîte insolite dans une approche durable pour à la fois booster la basse saison et puis proposer finalement un produit un petit peu différent, un petit peu atypique. Donc, quelques éléments de contexte. Je vais profiter de la vidéo qui va suivre pour vous donner justement en image un petit peu de contexte sur le site et sur le phare. On peut lancer la vidéo. Donc, tout d'abord, il faut savoir que ce phare a été construit dans les années 1840, donc c'est un assez vieil édifice. Donc déjà, à l'époque, l'accès était particulièrement difficile pour les gardiens de phare qui donc avaient le rôle de finalement assurer la sécurité de la navigation maritime. Et donc, ça n'a pas tellement changé aujourd'hui. On peut voir sur ces images, parfois l'île est plus accessible lors de grandes marées, mais ce n'est pas toujours le cas, car dans la Manche et particulièrement en baie de Morlaix, on a un marnage assez important, ce qui fait qu'on a une différence d'hauteur d'eau très importante. Donc, depuis l'automatisation des feux du phare, le phare, enfin la maison du gardien de phare est inoccupée. Donc, depuis 1938, l'édifice est donc vide de toute occupation et donc toujours en activité malgré tout par phare et balise, donc qui s'en occupe et qui l'entretient pour assurer justement cette sécurité maritime. Le bâtiment est aujourd'hui propriété de l'État qui a confié sa gestion au Conservatoire du littoral, avec qui nous passons une convention d'occupation temporaire pour à la fois nous autoriser à mener des travaux de restauration, mais également d'en assurer l'exploitation à terme. Donc on voit ici la magnifique terrasse et la vue imprenable sur la baie de Morlaix par un jour de beau temps. Donc, comme vous avez pu le voir sur ces images, donc je le disais, on est vraiment sur un rocher très difficile d'accès, même par voie maritime finalement. Là, on le voit un petit peu plus d'ailleurs sur cette image actuellement. Donc, à marée haute, voilà ce qui reste de l'île Noire. Donc, c'est un rocher très, très réduit, ce qui rend difficile effectivement l'accès et toute intervention. Donc, comme le disait Marjorie plus tôt dans sa présentation, nous sommes également en baie de Morlaix dans un site classé Natura 2000, ce qui suppose évidemment certaines obligations pour le respect de l'environnement et des démarches administratives particulières. Donc, ça fait partie justement de ces obstacles qu'on a pu rencontrer. Donc, avec évidemment une note d'évaluation d'incidence également pour lister l'impact potentiel que peuvent avoir nos activités et notre développement sur les populations d'oiseaux qui nichent à proximité, voire parfois sur l'île, mais également sur les espèces de flore qui sont également protégées à proximité immédiate du phare de l'île Noire. Je pense notamment aux herbiers de Zoster. Également, nous sommes proches d'un site patrimonial d'importance, donc le château du Taureau, qu'on pouvait comparer justement au Fort Boyard plus tôt. Cet édifice est classé monument historique. Nous avons la chance d'être en dehors du périmètre monument historique, ce qui nous affranchit un petit peu de certaines règles également d'urbanisme, mais toutefois, Pardon? Oui, il y a un petit problème de traduction? Non? Donc,
Yeah,
je
Michael,
pense...
we've had some interpretation delays, so
D'accord, je vais peut-être ralentir.
we can hear you now. So, Laura, if we can just pause with you just briefly before you move on to your next slide, just in case we need to catch up. I think we're ready to go. Actually, we continue. Yeah.
D'accord. Je vais essayer d'aller un petit peu plus lentement, peut-être pour la traduction. Toutes mes excuses. Donc, je le disais, nous ne sommes pas donc en périmètre monument historique. Toutefois, l'une des contraintes également était de quand même solliciter l'avis de l'ABF, donc l'architecte des bâtiments de France, pour avoir son avis sur justement l'ensemble du projet et sa cohérence architecturale en fait sur le phare. On peut passer à la slide suivante. Donc également, au-delà des contraintes environnementales, architecturales, je souhaitais également vous faire part des contraintes techniques fortes qui existent sur l'île. Donc vous avez pu le constater avec cette vidéo diffusée plus tôt. Nous sommes donc sur un rocher et il n'y a donc pas d'électricité sur l'île, ni de système d'approvisionnement en eau et ni de système d'assainissement. Donc tout était à créer à l'intérieur de ce phare. Et vous voyez également sur la droite des images de la forme des pièces qui sont assez particulières et qui rendent aussi un petit peu difficile comment dire, l'aménagement du site. Donc, j'en parlais également un petit peu plus tôt, on a un marnage très important en baie de Morlaix, ce qui signifie que pour avoir accès à l'île, voilà, il faut aussi composer avec les horaires de marée. Donc, c'est aussi une contrainte supplémentaire au projet qui a pu parfois rendre difficile notre tâche. Et le transport maritime, évidemment. On peut passer à la slide suivante. Donc finalement, j'avais envie de dire aussi que le maître mot de ce projet pour nous était vraiment l'adaptation. Donc avec ce premier état des lieux, comment nous sommes-nous adaptés justement à ce site, toujours donc dans cette démarche de tourisme durable que nous souhaitions vraiment accentuer sur ce projet. On peut passer à la slide suivante. Donc, eh bien, comme je le disais, nous avons des oiseaux migrateurs, nicheurs à proximité de l'île, voire sur l'île. Ici, quelques exemples avec l'huîtrier pie ou le goéland, également des oies bernaches que nous verrons un petit peu plus tard. Et donc, je le disais, nous avions dû faire un certain nombre de démarches administratives pour garantir un impact moindre auprès des services de l'État, donc qui instruisent ces dossiers. Mais également, ce que nous avons mis en place, c'était des échanges assez réguliers avec les entreprises du bâtiment notamment, qui interviendront et qui interviennent sur l'île, pour justement les sensibiliser également à ce site sensible, à cet environnement qui est quand même assez fragile, pour que justement des protocoles un petit peu de mise en œuvre soient mis en place, en accord également avec notamment l'association locale Bretagne Vivante, que nous sollicitons assez fréquemment pour justement s'assurer que tout soit respecté pour ce respect des espèces. Donc, en baie de Morlaix, il faut le savoir, par exemple, nous avons 1% de la population mondiale des oies bernaches. Donc, voilà, on a vraiment une richesse faunistique et floristique très importante ici en baie de Morlaix. Et donc, Morlaix Communauté a également pour mission de garantir cette protection de l'environnement. On va passer à la slide suivante. Donc, évidemment, toutes ces conditions, on va dire, cet environnement a un petit peu façonné le projet. Et donc, la démarche durable s'est également traduite dans les choix qui ont été faits pour l'aménagement donc, du futur gîte, à savoir donc, une production d'énergie verte, donc à l'aide notamment de panneaux solaires et d'une éolienne supplémentaire. Donc là, nous en voyons une sur l'image, c'est celle de Phare et Balise. Nous allons en ajouter une deuxième pour pouvoir alimenter à la fois les équipements du phare et bien sûr pour produire de la lumière à l'intérieur. Donc également un système d'assainissement écologique qui sera mis en place, qui sera à créer à 100%. Et donc qui est à base c'est une technologie à base de verre qui donc se chargera de dissoudre, ou en tout cas d'éliminer les déchets, donc pour avoir un rejet nul dans le milieu. Donc forcément, ces choix-là ont un petit peu façonné on va dire le confort que l'on pourra attendre à l'intérieur de ce gîte. Donc, on a voulu aussi un confort rustique pour justement proposer quelque chose d'un petit peu différent de ce qu'on peut trouver aujourd'hui, des Airbnb tout confort, tout équipé. Ici, on sera vraiment sur autre chose. Donc, c'est aussi un choix de notre part pour voilà, proposer une expérience incroyable, mémorable aux visiteurs. Et ce, même en basse saison. On peut passer à la slide suivante. Et donc, ce projet, bien évidemment, de par cette limitation, on va dire, du confort, invitera donc les visiteurs et les habitants, qui sont également ciblés, à la déconnexion, Alors, quand je dis déconnexion, je pense surtout à la déconnexion digitale, mais bien sûr, on peut penser à la reconnexion à la nature, donc au slow tourisme, etc. En proposant notamment des activités un petit peu complémentaires dans le gîte, notamment l'observation d'oiseaux marins donc, que l'on peut apercevoir ici, qui sont très proches du site de l'île Noire, qui se nourrissent vraiment à proximité. Donc, l'idée étant de proposer des petits équipements de type jumelles, carnet naturaliste, cartes, documentation naturaliste pour pouvoir vraiment sensibiliser les visiteurs et qu'ils puissent se sentir impliqués finalement dans cette protection aussi des espèces locales. Donc ensuite proposer voilà, des activités de pêche à pied, toujours en sensibilisant les publics sur les quotas, sur les règles à respecter. Et ensuite, un projet également pour justement mettre un petit peu dans la boucle aussi le tissu économique local, de pouvoir proposer aux visiteurs, par exemple, une dégustation d'huîtres. Donc, si vous avez été attentif à la vidéo, vous aurez remarqué les nombreux parcs ostréicoles à proximité du phare. Et donc, l'idée, voilà, c'est aussi toujours pareil de capitaliser sur ces activités économiques vraiment proches, pour pouvoir proposer encore une fois un séjour vraiment insolite et différent. Donc pour conclure, je vais faire rapidement. Donc ce que nous pouvons dire, c'est que c'est vraiment le site qui a façonné le projet et non pas l'inverse. C'est-à-dire que nous n'avons pas cherché à transformer l'île. Donc par exemple, on aurait pu faire le choix d'amener l'électricité par câble sur l'île. Ça n'a pas été le choix qui a été fait, à la fois pour éviter l'impact environnemental, toujours pareil, et le coût, évidemment, trop important. Mais vraiment, c'est le site qui a, au fil du temps, au fil des mois, des années, modifié légèrement le projet final, voilà, en tenant compte justement des contraintes et des réalités du terrain, si j'ose dire. Donc, c'est vraiment en cela que nous avons eu cette démarche durable. Donc, c'est un petit peu difficile de résumer ce projet en une dizaine de minutes. Donc, pour celles et ceux qui souhaiteraient en savoir un petit peu plus sur la démarche, le projet en général, je vous invite vraiment à poser vos questions dans le chat ou bien en me contactant par mail à l'adresse qui s'affiche actuellement. Donc, je vous remercie vivement pour votre attention et je vais passer la parole maintenant au Norfolk County Council. Merci beaucoup.
Thanks very much, Laura. Thank you very much indeed for that. What an amazing project and an amazing building, and well done for getting as far as you have with that. That sounds huge. So well done. As Laura said, if you do have a question about the project or any of the projects, pop that question into the Q&A feature on your toolbar. As Laura said, we're off to Norfolk next, and we're going to join Lindsay. Lindsay Gardner from Norfolk County Council. Morning, Lindsay.
Morning, Chris. Hello, thank you, and hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here today to spend a few minutes sharing two of our projects, which will be in place from March this year. These are the Hunstanton Observatory and the Norfolk Way Art Trail. So first, I'd like to share the project we're delivering in West Norfolk. This is the Hunstanton Observatory. We're collaborating and co-delivering this project with the Borough Council of Kings Lynn and West Norfolk and Visit West Norfolk. And the project is also really well supported by a local working group. The project was a great fit for experience. The off-season is the best time of year to do stargazing activities and experience West Norfolk's fabulous dark skies. And the observatory will help to promote the importance of protecting our dark skies as well. So we're building a new small-scale, completely solar-powered, rolling roof community observatory at a site near the iconic cliffs of Hunstanton, which offers great dark skies viewing and you can see here a mock-up of how the observatory will look once it's been installed in March. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Phil Eek at Visit West Norfolk, who wasn't able to be here today, but has put together a short video presentation for us, providing a bit more context on the Hunstanton Observatory and the plans for its future operation. So if we can play the video, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Phil, and I'm from Visit West Norfolk. I'm here today on this slightly blustery day in the midst of winter in Hunstanton Seaside Resort in West Norfolk. And I'm visiting the site of where the new Hunstanton Observatory will be installed. Now, why does Hunstanton need an observatory? Well, there's never been a dedicated physical site in West Norfolk that could be utilised for increasingly popular dark skies festivals and associated astronomy events. It could be argued that Hunstanton is probably the major focus for West Norfolk's tourism for at least 2 seasons of the year. It's always been a very popular seaside resort for tourists. The King's Lynn and District Astronomy Society have advised us that it is likely that this observatory site could achieve the Orion class rating. This new observatory will help stretch the existing tourism season and out-of-season visitor appeal to help boost local business. So, why is it important to promote West Norfolk's dark skies? As a county, Norfolk is certainly renowned for its wide vistas, open landscapes, and stunning night skies. During the research conducted by Visit Britain in August 2017, it was found that 23% of the UK domestic audience is either interested or very interested in a stargazing experience. But what kind of events will be planned for this Hunstanton Observatory once it's built? This new observatory will bring great opportunities to share the importance of our dark skies and educate on light pollution. I believe there will be many events held within this site which will be of great interest to tourists, such as stargazing events and workshops. We could even do solar astronomy, night sky photography, wildlife and environmental events and classes. There could even be entertainment like storytelling. There could be business pop-ups, food and drink offers, and so on. This new Hunstanton Observatory really does have the potential to boost out-of-season tourism income for the area. All thanks to the support from the experienced Norfolk team. Thank you.
Great. So further information on the observatory will be made available on the Visit West Norfolk website, as well as the Experience Norfolk website from March this year. Before I go on, just a comment to say I can hear the French translation. Just want to check that's okay.
I think we've solved the problem now, Lindsay.
Fabulous, thank you. So great. So now I'm going to move on to the next project I'd like to focus on, which is the Norfolk Way Art Trail. Next slide, please. In the early stages of experience, we looked at successful examples of experiential cultural tourism offers, including this one, Andy Goldsworthy's Refuge Start in Haute-Provence, a unique artistic offer which associates contemporary art with hiking and walking and rural and local heritage. Inspired by this, we developed the Norfolk Way Art Trail, which is a new offer for Norfolk, which sees the installation of contemporary and site-specific outdoor artworks across the county. And you can see here each of the concept designs for the trail. We worked with local stakeholders to select a mix of both urban and rural locations set along what we're calling the Norfolk Way route, which is made up of existing long-distance walking trails spanning across the county. We wanted to position the trail to encourage low-impact exploration of Norfolk's rich nature and culture and sustainable tourism activities such as walking and cycling, which is why we've placed artworks at locations either near or along our long-distance trails.
Sorry,
Drawing on this idea.
Sorry, Lindsay, just to say that we were hearing Sylvie in the background in the English channel again.
Has that been resolved now?
I think that's fine.
Great, thank you. Great, so just to picking up on where I was. So drawing on this idea of linking contemporary art with local heritage in place, we wanted each artwork to be site-specific. And the artworks here are all inspired by the unique culture, personality, nature stories, and heritage of the places in which they are situated. Next slide, please. Engagement with local communities also formed part of the creation process for each of the artworks. We wanted to facilitate meaningful local engagement with the artworks, and this was a really important aspect of this project. Next slide, please. So to share with you an example of the approach we took to commissioning artworks which bring authentic connection to place, this video I'm about to play is just one of the many ways in which we communicated the special characteristics of each site to artists who were taking part in our open call for designs. This is an interview we filmed with a local stakeholder at our Dismere site, which, for context, is a body of water in the town of Dis, set right along the Anglesway walking route. So if we can play the video, please.
So the Mere's Mouth area is kind of the gateway in to the town centre from the park. It's also an area, quite a large expansive area, where members of the public meet and chat and enjoy the space right beside the Mere's edge. Picnic benches and have lunches, and right on the doorstep of the shops in the town as well. So just a really wonderful outlook onto the Mere and very convenient location in the town. So I think anything in art that connects with people in any way, shape or form, whether that be in terms of the way it looks or the way it feels or the way it sounds, and if it can be connected to something related to Dis as well. So obviously Dis being synonymous with water, both with the Mere and also the River Waveney, I think that would be great. I think art that like you say is synonymous with a place, means something to the people that are in the place, or perhaps connected to a certain event that took place. So for example, the beacon, the idea of the beacon was a beacon of hope and a beacon of remembrance, so people could look forward to a more positive future after the pandemic. I think that this has a really fantastic local community, lots of people willing to help around the town and get involved in projects and support projects. And we've also got a lot of different shops and independent shops in the town centre which appeal to a whole range of different people. We've worked with lots of different people on our beacon project and involved members of the community on that, and we're looking to do that more as a town council. So I hope that this project will be an opportunity for us to engage better with our community.
Great, thank you. And so this is the artwork design that we ended up selecting for our Dismere site. It's titled Flock and was created by artist Toy Studio. And Flock's form is inspired by the flocking of flights of birds and schools of fish and swarms of eels, which are all really synonymous with the mere and also the nearby River Waveney, which was highlighted as obviously really important in the context of this place. The artwork also incorporates community stories. So local community members were invited through a series of workshops to share their stories of Dis, which were curated by a local artist into a poem that has been incorporated into the artwork. Next slide, please. So the Norfolk Way Art Trail will be promoted by the Be Norfolk website, and as we've seen this morning, people will also be able to build their own itineraries around their visit to an art trail site. The art trail is currently being installed across our 5 sites this year as experience draws to a close, but we hope to build on the legacy of the trail and to continue to develop this offer across Norfolk in future. So that is all from me. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you at the observatory or on the art trail in the future. Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you very much indeed for sharing all that on both those really cool, unique projects there in Norfolk. Let's head from Norfolk down west. Let's head to Cornwall to join Celine Holman and Rosa Pedley from Cornwall Council. Morning, Celine.
It's me, Chris, Rosa. Morning.
Rosa. I knew I was going to get it wrong if I do one or the other. Morning,
it's
Rosa.
Morning, and hi, everybody. It's lovely to be here today and to join you and have the opportunity to present our application of the Experience project in Cornwall. Next slide, please, Chris. Thank you. So for us in Cornwall, our focus has been hyper-focused on a specific geographic area, which is West Cornwall, and we've been applying a sustainable cultural tourism model here. For us, we intended to redistribute the flow of visitors throughout the seasons, like our partners here today, but also to different areas in Cornwall. By taking this hyper-geographic approach to West Cornwall, really enabled us to put a closer spotlight on the area's distinct identity, which is very different to other areas in Cornwall. Cornwall is one of the UK's leading rural creative economies, and as a result, sustainable cultural tourism is a strategic priority for us. The Experience project provided us with a mechanism to deliver this, and it really enabled us to provide and give a new perspective of the cultural identity of the West Cornwall area. We wanted to leave a positive impact for both the local communities and visitors alike. And we identified from the outset that the creation of a cultural landmark would really help encourage a new perspective and leave a positive impact. And we knew from our research that people come to Cornwall and have a solid visitor base that books on repeat. However, they still often visit in the peak season. So we knew that there was potential here to encourage a change in the current booking behaviour. So our focus was very much on creating a cultural landmark as a key focus point and a draw to those visitors in the area in the low season. And now I'd like to hand over to Celine, who's going to take the next slide.
So as part of the project, we worked on the refurbishment of the Mounts Bay Coast Path. The coast path stretches 2.6 miles between Penzance and Marazion on the tip edge of West Cornwall. The path is just by the sea edge. It's got stunning views over St Michael's Mount. We chose this capital asset as it had a lot of potential for development as an out-of-season experience. So the stunning views and scenery, but also it's connected to a railway and bus station at Penzance End. So it provided direct access to public transport and enabled us to connect the bus, train and cycling travel. The path was in really bad shape. It was really well loved. But due to its location being just by the water, it's been at the mercy of weather and endured many, many storms over the years. So through the Experience project, we completely refurbished the path, resurfacing it, making it accessible to all users, so to those with reduced mobility, but also those with families using prams and pushchairs, and mostly ensuring it could be used year-round in all types of weather. And to enhance this experience and to really transform the coastal path into a star experience we could promote out of season, we also decided to commission an art installation to really bring to life this unique landscape. Over to you, Rosa.
Thank you. So we really knew that this artwork had to embody West Cornwall's unique identity, and our brief to the artist was centred around this. So our brief very much focused on this need to create an artistic landmark that reflects both contemporary and socially engaged approaches. We wanted to create an iconic vocal point for visitors and residents, and we wanted to deepen the connection with the unique location. The artworks itself had to be sustainable, they had to link with those local communities, and they really, really had to connect the visitors with the local cultural and natural assets of the area. We wanted the artworks to provide an opportunity for contemplation, reflection and engagement. And similar to Norfolk, we went through a very thorough bid process where we put the brief out to open tender, and we got a broad breadth of responses. Next slide, please, over to Celine.
So with the art commission, we really wanted to put local residents at the centre, and we really wanted to put this unique location at the heart of the commission. So why would we do this? Well, the artwork was going to be in a very public space, and it was in creating a piece of public art, we felt it was really important that the artwork engaged with as many people locally as possible to ensure it had a really long lasting legacy. So we did this by building in community engagement into the artist brief from the outset. We asked that the commissioned artist would need to consider ways of working with local residents, and that there needed to be some form of participation in the actual making of the artwork. We also built into the brief that the artwork should be rooted in the landscape and should tell the story of the place and its people.
So next slide, there we go. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce to you Gwelym, which is the result of our brief and process. It's a short video that Chris can just hit play on for us. Thank you.
So Gwelym is a series of seeing sticks that are leaning posts from which to imagine the submerged forest in Mounts Bay. When I first saw information on the commission, it's obviously an extraordinary landscape to think about making work in response to, and I think Mounts Bay holds the largest submerged forest in Cornwall, and it's an extraordinary piece of geology that's mostly hidden, so you can see it occasionally at very low spring tides. So for this project I think there was something particularly special in the making of the work, of inviting people to have works that both they contributed the ideas for but then had them custom made for them. Local residents contributed both drawings of themselves imagining the forest in the bay and exploring what position you'd most like to have your body in to be able to relax, and what the kind of conditions of that are, whether that's you want to stay still, you want to move, you want to recline, you want to sit, whether that's to do with needing to keep the wind off your back or be able to tether your dog at the same time or breastfeed a child. What are all the really personal sort of particular requirements for just being able to sit and have that moment to think about the forest in the bay. And so the work is really an invitation for people to stop and contemplate the bay and to imagine this extraordinary landscape that has been there and that still is there, but it's not necessarily visible to us.
So in making the artwork, the artist Emma Smith, who was commissioned, gave us a really, really strong proposal in terms of relating to this really unique landscape, the submerged forest that you can see at very low tide, but also connecting to the heritage of the place, the fact that there was this forest so long ago. And really at the heart of her proposal was this engagement with the local community. And so in total, she engaged 1,492 participants directly. And she engaged people in real varieties of ways. So people attended talks with the artist, they went to open studio events. They also took part in foraging and woodworking workshops. These engagement sessions were done with a variety of audiences and groups as well. So she worked with school groups, knitting clubs, after school groups, and lots of other community-led organisations. There was what we call the made to measure call out. So this was an opportunity for people to submit their measurements and also drawings of the poses in which they would like to sit or rest and imagine the forest in the bay. We had 600 contributions, and all the people who contributed received a map of the artworks and which one has been made with their measurements and their drawing in mind. In addition to this, sorry, it was the last slide. In addition to this, the art installation is also accompanied by a series of podcasts. So the artist created 7 podcasts that explore lots of stories about the bay. And there's also a publication with activities that prompt you to and help you imagine what the forest might have looked like.
So the results, so the collective work that we've detailed on the previous slides really helped to create that unique cultural landmark. It helped provide a focal point for our marketing campaign, and it really helped to drive promotion and revenue for SMEs. It's the key linchpin between all our activity that we've been doing across marketing to business engagement. And it has been really, really well received from press and to locals. And so much so, the results that we've already got coming through is also proving that. The pilot area, which is West Cornwall, has performed 16% better out of season than the rest of Cornwall during the same period in 2021. And we've also seen a 70% increase of use of the path by cyclists out of season specifically. And we've got more results that are feeding through as we speak, and they're all indicating how the use of Gwelym and the transformation of a capital asset has really helped drive an increased visits and an increased interest in the local area. Which leads us on to our last slide quite nicely. And this is just a screenshot of a piece of coverage that came out at the end of December. We have been really delighted with the feedback that we've received from the press activity. There has been a real interest in Cornwall as a low season destination, but also in Gwelym as the specific kind of draw. And here we've just pulled out some quotes, but what we really like about this piece of coverage is that the journalist has really evocatively captured the essence of Gwelym and what it means for representing the distinct identity of the area. So I've just pulled some pull quotes off, which you can read, but I think the first one is probably the most powerful, which is just that it's rooted in the landscape but separate from it. Like other good sculpture trails, this offers a deeper link to the landscape, a perspective that a walk alone can't offer. And so that's it from us today, and obviously we've got the Q&As that we can respond to, and if anyone has any questions, I will pop our project email in the chat as well, so that you're more than welcome to reach out to us directly. Thank you.
Rosa, Celine, thank you very much joining us there from Cornwall, and great to see that 16% increase out of season tourism compared to the rest of the county of Cornwall. That's really interesting in a short amount of time as well. Rosa, if I can just bring you back in just to answer one of my questions. And you know, you've got the example on the screen there of press. How much does things like social media play into, you know, actually bringing people to West Cornwall in that low season?
Yeah, it's really important actually. And for us, we have dedicated a large part of our marketing activity to it. So we have set up dedicated Instagram and Facebook channels to really draw out those messaging. The reason that social was so important is because we can be really highly targeted with our activity. We have our set audiences, which are empty nesters and young and free, and we know where they are in the UK and further abroad, and we also know the kind of geographic areas, the types of things that they're looking to do. So we have used social media as a key platform to directly target them, and it also means that we can use all the great imagery and the content and copy that we've compiled and just basically distribute that far and wide. So it's very important for us.
Great, really great. Got some good comments coming in from on the chat. I know that not everybody can see the chat. If you're an attendee, you will only see the Q&A. So if you do want to pop anything so everybody can see, please pop those things into the Q&A so that everybody can see. And if you've got any questions for any of the projects you've seen this morning, again, pop them into the Q&A and our panelists will get back to you. Thanks again to Rosa and Celine then. We are going to move on to our lunch break, which has been shortened because we're a little bit behind schedule, but we're going to catch up. So we're going to return back at 1:10 in the UK, 2:10 French time, when we continue and we'll look onto the actual how businesses have actually built resilience during the pandemic, and also the important role that visitors and residents have together, and how actually creating those communities where tourism is actually a great thing and championing that local identity. That's our fourth and fifth themes of the day. So we're back here at 10 past the hour. Enjoy your lunch and we'll see you then. Thank you very much. Merci.